This is CBC Vancouver News.
As a result of these winds, our current fire behavior projections show the community of Fort Nelson may be impacted during the morning of May 13th.
A raging wildfire near Fort Nelson has doubled in size and is creeping closer to town. Fire officials say the risk is growing for nearby communities. And unearthing an active grenade. A Vancouver woman digs up more than she bargained for. Now police are trying to figure out how it got there. Plus,
there's no setup that there's equipment lined up to load trucks. There's no indication that anything's coming in.
Illegal waste dumping is on the rise. Why residents in the Fraser Valley are fed up. Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. Fire officials say the Parker Lake wildfire burning just west of Fort Nelson has increased dramatically since it was discovered on Friday. And with winds expected to get even gustier tonight, the BC Wildfire Service projects the fire may hit the town by tomorrow morning. They are asking anyone who remains in the evacuated area to leave immediately.
The fuels are as dry as we have ever seen. The wind is going to be sustained, and it is going to push the fire towards the community. Escape routes may be compromised, and visibility will be poor as the fire continues to grow.
Chapman says the highways in the area will remain closed for at least the next 48 hours. The Wildfire Service says the blaze was threatening structures along the Alaska Highway this afternoon and is expected to move west along Highway 97, possibly reaching the Fort Nelson First Nation and Muskwa area by 6 o'clock tomorrow night. As the flames creep closer to town, the fire risk is growing, and so too is the number of evacuees. Now, roughly 4,000 people are on evacuation order. Our Yvette Brend is near Fort Nelson with the latest.
Getting ready for our sort of last stand, if that's what it comes to.
Fort Nelson Mayor Rob Fraser is trying to get the last 100 or so people out of town, with fire coming from 3 directions and the wind picking up again. Buses were prepped at noon today to take the last people out of Fort Nelson, but some refused to go.
We're asking them to rethink that position because there will be nobody there to help them.
Fort Nelson's like a ghost town. It's almost like the day after you, and it's real weird. You're the only one in that town.
Dwayne Lowe says he's among those staying to fight the fire.
I have no fear. We're going to save it. We are not afraid. We're gonna handle it, but it is high on the nerves.
A 4-hour drive south in smoke-choked Fort St. John, evacuees wait and hope.
It's sad because what do people do? Like, if you're not prepared for it, what do you do?
It's been stressful, been very anxious.
These Fort Nelson teens bought fishing rods to kill time and cast away fears.
And we have a bunch of people down there right now still fighting the fire. Like my dad, he's filling up all the planes and helicopters and stuff so they can keep going back in and out.
I don't know, it's worrying. Hopefully the town doesn't burn, Hopefully it's still there. It's always be home, whatever. I never thought it'd be us, until now.
In Fort Nelson, the mayor is not giving up yet.
We're going to fight this right to the end, as long as the life of people and our firefighters is not being jeopardized. We're going to keep keeping on.
Yvette Brand, CBC News, Fort Nelson.
BC's Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness is echoing fire officials' pleas to residents to leave the area around Fort Nelson immediately. She says more reception centers have been set up for evacuees.
Commercial accommodation in the area is limited. However, we've set up an additional accommodation site in Sunset Prairie with 200 rooms. Rooms are available, and evacuees who need assistance can go straight to the reception center in Sunset Prairie to receive accommodation. Reception centers are also open in Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, and Prince George.
If you have mobility issues or cannot drive, you can call 250-775-0933 for help. Wildfire season has erupted across Western Canada. A fire outside Fort McMurray, Alberta, the scene of a historic wildfire devastation 8 years ago, is getting the most attention. But it's not the only one. The CBC's Sam Sanson reports.
The sky, a warning.
Okay, we should get the hell out of here, right?
That escape was almost too late. This fire is burning about 1 kilometer from a northern Manitoba community. It's forced about 600 people from their homes.
Oh, this is the worst.
And it's closed parts of the highway. Evacuees say they were first told they had 2 hours to leave, but things escalated so quickly it turned into 20 minutes.
Right from the highway, I watched the fire. It was burning hard, and it was rolling, and it was dark. The highway was completely black.
In Alberta, Fort McMurray is facing down another fire, now about 16 kilometers away. The city is under an evacuation alert, and residents know all too well how quickly things could turn.
You're almost waiting for it and constantly searching social media, what's going on? Is there new news? So yeah, it's 2016 all over again. So
8 years ago, the entire city fled as a catastrophic wildfire burned down entire neighborhoods. Though Fort Mac is only on alert, some residents gassed up and got out right away. Those who stayed say they're ready for anything.
Tank full of gas, jerry can in the garage. I waited till the initial rush of gas station panic happened Friday night before we left the house.
3 days worth of clothing, everything, documents, all ready to go.
This fire is in such a remote area, firefighters have to fly in.
So logistically, it's a little more complicated to get firefighters in and out, but we'll see what happens in the coming days and if we're able to establish better access.
On the other side of the province, a second out-of-control wildfire forced 17 households off their properties, the smoke leaving a thick shadow. All that smoke is creating hazardous conditions in other parts of the West. The Air Quality Health Index is at extreme levels in both Winnipeg and here in Edmonton, which means people more prone to health issues could face even further risks just from breathing. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
Some tense moments here in Vancouver after a gardener unearthed a grenade in a city park this morning. The grenade was found in a small garden by Hinge Park near the seawall in Olympic Village. The area, which is near a dog park and a playground, was blocked off and an explosives team was called in. Police say it was an old grenade that appeared to be active. It was safely detonated, and officers are now trying to figure out how it got there. One man has been found dead after an altercation between several people near the shores of the Okanagan Lake in Penticton. Mounties have released few details, but say around 2 o'clock in the morning, they found a critically injured person after responding to what they call a targeted altercation on Lakeshore Drive. The man later died of his injuries. If anyone has information, they are being asked to contact police. This weekend, the Liaxin First Nation and Cowichan tribes signed a land transfer agreement with the province. The partnership between the two First Nations is expected to help alleviate housing shortages and build vital infrastructure for a nation that has been displaced from their traditional territory for generations. Claire Palmer has more.
This is an historic day for the province of British Columbia, for the Liaxin people.
Under the new agreement, BC will transfer 312 hectares of culturally significant land to Liaxin First Nation and Cowichan tribes. Premier Eby says the land was purchased by the province from Mosaic Forest Management.
This area holds a lot of significance. And it also is a place where today we are realizing some real justice together. The return of lands to people who were displaced from it.
It was an emotional day for Liaxin Chief Penticton, who's been working for more than 3 decades to establish adequate housing, a health center, a band office, and a community gathering place for his community.
I have to admit that I cried when we finally had the announcement that we're following through. So it has been a burden, but I think that burden has been lifted.
The two First Nations will divide the land into equal separate parcels. The new home of the Laxon First Nation will be here, next to Skulls Falls.
And I think it's all part of the family ties. You know, we have strong family ties between Laxon and Cowichan. The support, I think, came mostly from our elders in coming to a conclusion on having a joint land discussions together.
Laxon had a winter village at the mouth of the Cowichan River before they were displaced during colonization. Their lands are now located on Valdez Island, an island without ferry service, water, electricity, and other vital infrastructure.
A lot of my members, you know, haven't lived on a reserve, and you know, well, they've lived on other reserves, but not in their own homes. So it is going to be more of a real keepsake once they are accepted and have a place that they do call home. And I know it's going to be very heartwarming for each and every one of them.
Chief Penticton says negotiations will continue on land use and when development will start. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Cowichan Valley.
Some Chilliwack residents are growing increasingly frustrated over how long it's taking to remove huge piles of waste that were illegally dumped on farmland 2 years ago. The waste management company was ordered last summer to remove the potentially hazardous garbage, but as Sohrab Sandhu reports, much of the waste is still there, and it's not the only place this is happening.
No need for all of this.
Neighbors Darcy Henderson and Jason Wesilash stare at a massive pile of waste in disbelief. It's on a farm next door to them in the Columbia Valley, less than 5 kilometers south of Cultus Lake.
You know, there's no setup that there's equipment lined up to load trucks. There's no indication that anything's coming in.
Last summer, the Agricultural Land Commission ordered the farm owner and Fraser Valley Renewables, the company that discharged the waste, to remove the materials, as it was found to have prohibited foreign material. But with less than a month left before the deadline, not much seems to have changed on the ground.
They would have to do about 150 trucks a day at 26 tons each.
Under BC's Environmental Management Act, any foreign materials like plastic, wood and other garbage are not allowed to be discharged on farmland.
I'm not 100% sure that it will be resolved by May 31st of next year or the year following.
The deadline arrives in about 3 weeks, and nothing can be done based on current legislation until that deadline passes.
But Henderson and Wesilash are not the only ones fighting this battle. Over in Mission, the Valley Community Association has been voicing concerns over illegal waste being dumped on farmland in the area.
We have 37 stop work orders in this valley.
Kun says despite work orders, dumping continued unabated until about 3 weeks ago, when she and some others from the association decided to block the entrance to one such farm.
The police came. They told me I cannot block the driveway, I'm going to be arrested. And finally in the afternoon around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the land commission officer arrived with a $100,000 fine.
The Agricultural Land Commission tells CBC News they are seeing a dramatic increase in the volume of fill at ALR properties, particularly in the South Coast region.
The problem is those rules have no teeth, long time horizons, and very, very difficult to enforce.
Fraser Valley Renewables says they are working to move the waste material to a non-ALR site. If, however, they fail to do so by May 31st deadline, the Agricultural Land Commission says they will seek a court order. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Chilliwack.
As National Mental Health Week wraps up today, a peer support group designed by doctors for doctors is highlighting the need for more specialized programming aimed at helping healthcare professionals who may be struggling.
We have to be on the go all the time. We have to be resilient all the time. The concept of feeling vulnerable, the concept of seeking help at the earliest point in time when things are not going well, is just recently introduced into the system around COVID time.
He hopes the program breaks down barriers and stigma. The Physician Peer Support Group is a confidential program run by Vancouver Coastal Health. He would like to see it expanded to other health authorities. Canucks viewing parties were held across Metro Vancouver tonight. At Vancouver's Oak Meadows Park, hundreds showed up to support the boys in blue. The city's mayor was also there. He says it's important to have a space where fans can enjoy the playoffs responsibly.
Definitely they should do more, and as long as we keep going towards the playoffs, to the final and stuff, we're going to have more and more events like this. It would be really fun to come out and watch.
Community's here. Everyone's having a good time. Nothing crazy is going down, so yeah, it's really good.
If the Canucks advance to the third round, Sims says the city is planning an outdoor viewing party at the PNE, which would allow up to 6,000 fans. Well, it's a good night for the Canucks when Scott Road and 72nd Avenue is celebrating. The Vancouver Canucks remain flawless on the road this playoffs as they beat the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 to take a 2-1 lead in their Stanley Cup second round series. Artur Shilov's made a career-high 42 saves, including 21 in the third period. Brock Besser and Elias Lindholm had 2 goals each. JT Miller and Quinn Hughes each had 2 assists for Vancouver. Game 4 of the best-of-7 series is on Tuesday in Edmonton. From childcare to cost of living relief, advocates are calling for more support for low-income single moms in the province. Details after the break. As many families celebrate Mother's Day across the province today, a new report is shedding light on the struggles low-income single moms face during the pandemic and the challenges they continue to grapple with. As Michelle Morton reports, from childcare to cost of living relief, advocates say more support is urgently needed.
Sayeeda Noorani is a single mother of 2 teens and works in childcare. She says she has 2 jobs and makes around $40,000 a year. But when the pandemic hit, her hours dropped significantly.
I was fortunate enough to apply for CRB, so I was able to get that. But rent is incredibly high. With 2 kids, the grocery bill was incredibly high. So we were cutting back on a lot of things.
Noorani's situation is similar to other mothers who shared their experience in a study by the Centre for Family Equity. The report looks at how the pandemic impacted low-income single mothers in the province. The report found some mothers lost work and wages during that time, and the source of income for most participants was from precarious work.
It was one of the things that came up largely in the data, is that people wouldn't find out their schedule for Monday until Thursday afternoon. So if you're trying to arrange childcare, it's almost impossible.
Karagata says 80% of single-parent families in BC are single mothers, and in 2019, their average income was less than $47,000 a year.
We heard stories of women selling off their possessions, one by one lamp at a time, one bit of kitchen equipment at a time, in order to continue to make ends meet. Many of the women, of course, lost work, like many people everywhere did, but they had no backup systems, often no family supports.
Rachel Livingston was a stay-at-home mom before the pandemic, and around the end of lockdown, her relationship was ending.
I did a lot of side jobs, babysitting and house cleaning and stuff like that, and he did some camp work. And then when the lockdown happened, his job became primarily away, and I lost all my side jobs, which made our financial situation harder.
To help single mothers impacted by the pandemic, the report is recommending the province create an emergency vulnerable populations task force and make sure parents receiving income assistance have priority access to $10 a day childcare spaces, as well as provide them with 5 additional paid sick days a year for caregiving. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here's a time lapse of the Northern Lights over Vancouver this past Friday. And if you haven't had a chance to check them out, it's still not too late. You can catch a glimpse tonight. We'll have your full forecast coming up next. All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast. Let's begin with temperatures around the province tonight. 1 degree in Dease Lake, 8 in Fort St. John, 9 in Golden with some rain, and in Victoria, a high of 10 overnight. And moving into tomorrow, Dease Lake, 10 degrees, Fort St. John, 17, much warmer in Kelowna at a high of 23, but precipitation expected in many places across the province. And here in Metro Vancouver, we have a high of 18 degrees for tomorrow, sun and clouds mixed together. That's going to clear up for Tuesday with a high of 17. Time may be running out for one of East Vancouver's last cultural keystones. The Wise Hall is embarking on an ambitious fundraising effort to keep the nonprofit operating. Take a look.
The Wise Hall is a hub for arts and culture, a place where seeds of conversation for social change happen. We are a live music and entertainment venue.
The Wise Hall was originally established in the late 1950s, and WISE is an acronym for Welsh, Irish, Scottish, and English Hall. So it was originally a cultural center for expats. COVID had a devastating impact on a lot of live venues in the city.
The Wise Hall's financial situation is part of a larger trend, really, in the city. The pandemic, as well as the rental market, has really shut down a lot of arts venues. And the Wise Hall is kind of the last, one of the last venues that is surviving.
Ideally, we would be able to move forward with no debt or arrears. If we can sustain and raise enough money to see us through the summer, we know we will be on good, strong footing. We've really been empowered by seeing how important the Wise Hall is as a venue to the local community and the community at large.
500 new memberships that have signed up to join the offering of many bands. Local bands, larger acts have all come forward.
I'm trying to think of which venue has had more impact on the city that isn't already closed. There's lots of community love that comes from this place. We're gonna work to make sure that the Wise is the one that survives.
That is your late news for this Sunday. Thank you so much for watching. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. Before we go, we have more of the spectacular light show known as the Aurora Borealis. Have a great night.